Hello everyone, welcome back to the Crafty Concepts with Erin YouTube channel. Today I have a scrapbook layout featuring the Hope and Kindness collection from Close to My Heart. I already have a video here on my channel I'll leave linked in the description box below where I gave you an up-close kind of in-depth look at this beautiful paper pack. Today we're going to jump right into the layout. I have one large 5x7 photo that I printed out with a white border. This is a group of several of my coworkers and I. We had just gotten together. We're going to go for a horseback ride. This photo was taken a couple years ago, but I love that we're all horsewomen. Some of these gals I've worked with for over 20 years, but check this out. Her shirt and her shirt, hello, were they not made for this paper pack? I love it when that happens. It just makes us scrapbookers do a happy dance. So the layout I'm creating today was inspired by one of the workshop layouts. There's a printable PDF guide that shows you step by step how to make 6 double page layouts, and every single one of them are gorgeous. Absolutely love them. It's so nice having the PDF guides because it's like having a sketch to, you can use it as a jumping off point or follow it exactly, and you don't have to guess because they give you all the measurements in the cutting guide, everything you need. So what I did is I cut some of the the coordinating cardstock. You can see it has like this textured look to it. It's not physically textured, it's a visual texture, but I absolutely love the way that looks. And this is going to be a oversized photo mat here. So there's this pattern paper here. On one side we have the stripes with all these gorgeous colors, and then on the other side we have strips of pattern paper. So you could use this for a quick background, but what I'm going to do is cut these into individual strips. Let me bring in my paper trimmer. I'll scoot that over to the side there. This is another one of those layouts that's perfect for utilizing those leftovers. I know I'm using a full 12 by 12 new sheet of pattern paper here, but anytime you have paper collections and you get down to just those paper strips, this would work so well for anything, especially when they're designed to work well together. So these strips range from 3/4 of an inch to almost 1.5 inches, and then they're 12 inches long, but I will go ahead and trim those down as we get them onto the layout. So I'm just picking and choosing which ones that I want to incorporate. You heard me earlier mention there is a full color PDF guide for this layout. I don't have it. I'm not following the measurements. I do have the layout up on my laptop off to the right, and I'm just using that for a visual reference. I'm dry fitting the pattern papers for now just to make sure I'm happy with the placement and balance of color. I'll bring in my photo and just make sure that looks good, and then I will get those adhered. So yes, I definitely like that. And in the layout, they have the tops torn so that you have this uneven edge, and I really like that look, so I am going to do that as well on my layout. The torn edges just add a little bit of interest, and I like it. So what I'm going to do is just put a couple strips of my tape runner across and then line those up, and I can always just lift up the top and bottom and add more tape runner. But that way if I need to reposition anything, it's not a big deal. Having those grid lines on the VersaMat make this super easy. It's very helpful when you're trying to get things on your layout straight. I'm not sure if I mentioned it earlier, but the cardstock piece that I'm actually building the layout on is from the Hope and Kindness coordinating cardstock. If you guys caught my adventure layout that I did just last week, I used this same base page and I love the way it turned out. It just makes a super quick layout. It has like the background painted on there ready to go. I wish I could get a whole pack of that pattern piece right there. So I'm just tearing off the bottom to mimic the tear on the top. And I'm just going along, tearing each piece. We'll get those out of the way. So I'm going to bring in my favorite die right now. It is the fancy doilies. I love these and I've been using them a ton. So I have papaya, toffee, and shortbread cardstock, and I'm going to cut out several of those. We've got 2 of the papaya, the largest toffee, and the smaller other one is the shortbread color. I'm bringing in my all-purpose mat. I have papaya and toffee ink. It is so nice having the inks that match the paper. Everything goes together, makes it so convenient. What we're going to do is a little ink blending, a little shading around the outside just to give it some, a little contrast, make it more interesting. You see me do this technique on flowers a lot, and I really love the way it looks. So this is in the workshop as well, so I am just copying happily right along, but check out the difference. It may be kind of subtle on camera, but it does make it pop more. So I am using toffee for this large one, which I did cut out of toffee, and I will use the same toffee ink for my shortbread color as well. A little more of the story behind the photo. Like I said, these are all very lovely ladies that I work with. There are more, but this particular group, we're all horsewomen, and so we try to get together once a month and do like a girls' ride and take a picnic, and it's just so fun. We have a job that can often be very, very stressful, so I'm thankful that we can get together outside of work and just kind of de-stress. So we have our gorgeous doilies. This one I'm actually going to cut. I was going to use my scissors, but then thought, nope, it's kind of big, so a paper trimmer will work just fine. And I'm going to cut that piece off. I can actually use that on a card or something like that, so nothing goes to waste. And then I'll layer this one under here, and then our shortbread one. And then this one, I think I keep calling it papaya. It's actually desert rose, so I'm sorry. Hopefully I'm not confusing you guys. As always, everything I use is in the description box below, so if you're not sure, you can just go and check. This is the Hope and Kindness stamp set. If you guys have been watching my channel, you know I've used the Beautiful for a title on a previous layout, but for this one, we're going to make more embellishments with these stamped flowers. So there are several different floral elements on here, and I thought just to save time, I'm going to stamp them all at once and then flip the paper over and do a second set. So when I do things like that, it is faster and very convenient to use the Misty stamping platform. But of course, if you don't have one, that's fine. You can totally do it by hand. I'm using intense black ink because I'm going to be coloring these in with my alcohol markers, and this ink won't bleed. So we're just inking them up, give them a good press. Sometimes it helps if you have like a cloth you can rub over the door. And that one didn't quite turn out like I would like it. It needs to be a little darker. So the second benefit of a stamp positioner, you can re-ink that up and it's going to go right back in the exact same place. Let me press down. I keep missing a little spot. So now what I can do is flip the paper over and quickly add a whole nother set of stamped images. I hear very often that people buy stamps, but they don't reach for them. They don't remember to use them. And I love them because I can color these in to match my layout perfectly. How many times do we dig through our stash of ephemera and you're like, oh, I could use this. Oh, it totally clashes. That doesn't happen with stamps. I'm going to color these in with coral and dull green from the Spectrum Noir Tri-Blends. I have swatched all my markers, and I highly recommend doing this because they lighten, they change as they dry. So now I have a quick reference that I can just hold my project up next to and see, oh yes, that color is going to go beautifully. I think you're supposed to actually blend the colors on your swatch chart, but I just kind of put all three on there and that works for me. So I'm using the dull green and I'm starting with the darkest shade and I'm putting it where, the shadows might be kind of around the base, closer to the flower itself. I'm putting the dull green and then I'm going to extend that area with the medium color. And then I'll go over the remaining bit and kind of blend it in a little bit with the lightest color. So the trick to these, there's recommended different ways. Some people color all over with the light and then they add the shadows with the dark. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I just recommend that you play around with them and see what works for you. I find that when I, use the lightest last, I don't go through that color as often because you do tend to use more. I'm going to zoom this in so you can see what I'm doing with the floral image here. Again, I'm taking that darkest shade of the coral and I'm going around the center of the flower and then the, right next to the petals, and that's going to give it more of a layered look. And then extending that out with a medium shade, and then I will again switch to the lightest shade. It may be hard to pick up on camera, but I also recommend doing kind of like flick-like motions, and that will help it blend a little easier as well. A lot of blending has to do with the cardstock too. The smoother the cardstock, the better it's going to blend. I decided to go back in with the medium and do the outside edge of the petal, and that's going to make it look more like a rounded leaf because the lightest would be in the center where the sun's kind of hitting it. So this is the golden brown, and I'm just going to add this color to these little dots, and they're not berries. I don't know what they'd be, but it's a little floral accent there, and you can see how pretty that looks. Let me zoom this back out, and magically I have them all colored ready to go. So this stamp set is available with coordinating dies, and I'm going to just line these up over each of the images here. And then I like to use Post-it removable labeling tape. I ordered this on Amazon. Usually any office supply store carries it, and that way it'll hold them in place when you run it through your die cutting machine. The inspiration layout uses this sticker and this one as well. They say, "You are amazing, beautiful, and capable." And then this one says, "So beautiful." Those come from the coordinating sticker sheet. So I really like the look of this banner, but "so beautiful" isn't quite right. So I'm going to alter that. My plan is here, I'm going to bring in this word. This is from my stash. If they are still available, I will leave that linked below, but it says friends. So now we have "so beautiful friends," which still isn't making sense. So what I'm going to do is grab a wooden heart and cover up the "so." So now we have beautiful friends, and that definitely feels more appropriate for this layout to me. It's fun to kind of get creative and make those, kits work for you, because, that title may have gone perfectly for something else, but like I said, it wasn't the right vibe for this photo of my friends. So I'm finishing off each of the stickers here by adding these floral elements that we stamped and colored around them. And we're going to do a lot of layering. So some will be directly on the layout, some will be popped up on foam tape, and that layering just looks so good to me. So this one, I'm going to start with the bottom. So if you glue the bottom first, and then you can kind of build up from there. I am going to add foam tape to the back of the title for sure. This is that 3D foam tape, and it comes in 2 rolls in one pack, and one is narrow and one is wide. So you can really, get the size you need. And then I recommend using the non-stick microtip scissors like you see me doing, because you can cut the foam and it won't leave any sticky adhesive or residue on your scissors. This layout will eventually have a companion page, and I will include the story on that with pictures of us actually on our ride and then having our little picnic lunch afterwards. But this was definitely a focal photo, and I wanted it to be large in this 5x7 and kind of have its own page. And then the other one will be a supporting page. I'm kind of new to doing that way. I always had to do everything all at once, but then I learned from fellow YouTuber Dorothy over at Scrapbooking Quebec. She does it this way quite often, and I'm like, I really like that idea, because maybe you don't have time to sit down and do a double page layout, or maybe it just feels a little bit more overwhelming. Take it and, just do half of it, and then you can make a companion page. As long as you're introducing the same elements, the same colors and patterns, those pages are going to blend together beautifully. And it is okay to have mismatched pages next to each other in the album. I know that may drive you crazy, but I do a lot of single page layouts because I only have 1 or 2 photos, and I still want them to be in the album. So I've had to kind of get used to the pages not all matchy-matchy. If you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget you can get the PDF guide. I'll leave that listed in the description box below. But thank you so much for watching, and if you're looking for more inspiration for this particular paper pack, you can watch this video right here. Thanks guys, and I will catch you next time. Bye!